All right, I can kick us off. So my name is Volha. I am based in Bay Area, Northern California. What I'm looking to get out of this program is mentoring experience. And of course, when you mentor, you also learn something new from others as well. And if I could have any superpower, that would be the ability to speak every language, because I do believe in power of your communication, and I think it would be a really good skill to have. So I'll pass it on to Sarah.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm based in Denver. I am hoping to get out of this program just more practice with coding and collaboration, and hopefully a job at the end, or help me to find a job at the end. And then if I could have a superpower, I think it would be teleportation, because I hate waiting in traffic and I am impatient and don't love airports either. I will pass it to DJ.
All right. Hey, I am DJ Taylor. I live in Los Angeles. I am also excited to get some mentoring experience and to build relationships with everybody. I really love this community, and so I'm excited to be part of it and to welcome y'all into that. My superpower is kind of lame. I would love to be able to like fall asleep on demand, like just decide like right when, wherever, whenever, just like immediately be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. I think that'd be pretty cool. So yeah. Okay, let's go to Ashel.
Okay, so my name's Ashel, and I'm also in Los Angeles. And what I'm hoping to get out of the program is just collaboration, because I I come from a boot camp, but we didn't actually collaborate at all. Like we did like one collaboration like for one day. But I wanted to get more out of it. I wanted to participate more, improve communication and all that. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of this program. And as for superpowers, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Sarah for teleportation, because I do not like driving in LA. So there you go. And I'll pass that to Randall.
Hey, folks. Sorry, hopefully the background's not distracting y'all. Nice meeting y'all. I'm Randall. I'm in LA. I'm in Downey, in the southeast of LA. And I used to live in the Bay Area, and I miss it, but not right now with that weather. I got out of a boot camp. We actually ended a month early because they closed their doors in person. I guess they're doing some corporate move. And kind of like what you said, I really wanted more pair programming, and we didn't do that much of it. It was more like if we wanted to. So I'm really looking forward to working with somebody in a structured way. And then on top of that, just learning a lot. I feel like there's obviously gaps in my knowledge because it was a rush. So I'm excited to learn more and build my confidence in React, and not just do this, but also learn how to do other projects with more confidence. And if I had a superpower, it would be to stop time. There are not enough hours in the day, and I want to see people, and I want to do things, and I want to learn skills like not just tech, but music and play sports. So time. Who are we missing? Anybody else?
Alex.
Matthew? Okay, Matt.
Okay. My name is Matt. I live in North Carolina, so I'm on the other coast. Good to meet everybody, by the way. And Randall, I'm looking at the background there, and my background is a lot rainier than yours, and I know that it's raining crazy in Seattle, but wherever you are looks awesome. Anyway, I am hoping to get some mentoring experience. So I just started a new job in March, changed careers. I had been doing something totally different before this, but as I'm trying to like make changes in jobs and things like that, I think it'll be important to have some mentoring experience. And the team that I'm on is really small. And so this is going to be a way to maybe supplement that. And to the point the DJ made, like you can always learn something new by trying to help with something like this. I tried to dry run a couple of the issues last night and maybe the day before, and I was like, I'm going to learn something. I could tell. So anyway, good to meet everybody. And superpower these days, it would probably be like become a game maker, because whenever I'm watching, so our daughter just turned 2 years old, Whenever I'm like watching her, I feel like we're just staring at each other because I can't come up with something for us to do that's fun. And so, yeah, sometimes she types on the computer. Like I'll open up a Word doc and I mean, she knows the letters well enough and she'll like point to the Q and say Q. And then she'll just keep pressing it. And so, you know, it takes up like 3 or 4 minutes. Anyway, all right. So on to, what was the last one?
Alex.
Alex. All right. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my name is Alex, and what I'm hoping to get out of this experience is, like Randall said, a more structured way to collaborate in a team. I also am a boot camp grad, and we did have weekly, like, or bi-weekly projects where you had one other person to work with, but I like that in Collab Lab, you're given like issues to work on and code reviews, which is something I'm unfamiliar with. So I think that's a very valuable experience to share while looking for a job. As retweet Sarah, I'm also looking to hopefully get a job by the end of this program, or at least within this year, within the next 6 months. I've been looking since the fall. And yeah, and also uh, see how y'all use React, because I'm sure I have a lot to learn from everyone here. And my superpower, everyone had really good ones. I think I always say flying. I feel like it probably has a really freeing feeling, and I'd be able to interact with nature in a more exciting way in the mountains and stuff. Um, sorry, the visual is there. And yeah, I think that's all of us though. So whatever the next item on the agenda is, go for it.
All right, fantastic. Very great to meet everyone, and thank you for sharing all the good superpowers. So the next thing we probably should discuss is a time for our weekly syncs. So that's something that's going to be happening every week. So far, it seems like we don't have time that overlaps. So perhaps we could address if that's something just for next weekend, or if that's something that's going to be happening all the time. Do you have a doodle open by any chance? No.
Let me open it real quick. Yeah, there was like, we had several that worked for like 6 of us. So we may just need to expand, like maybe do like see if another couple of options work. But let me pull that up. Okay. All right, so yeah, so we had Sunday 1 to 2. That's going to be out for Randall. There were a few times on Saturday that also had 6 folks that could potentially do it. I don't know if like if 11 a.m. on Saturdays would possibly work. Potentially.
Yeah.
Which time zone?
Sorry, good question. Pacific time. So that's noon Mountain Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. So potentially that could work. Another popular option was maybe 12 Pacific on Saturday. Let's see. Let's see.
Is there anyone who can absolutely not make this time?
I think I can do Saturdays on those times, except for the 21st, just that specific day.
Okay, I think that's probably okay, honestly. Volha and Matt, is that cool? Okay. Cool. So we'll say Saturday. Sorry, what time? Do we say 11 Pacific? Sounds good. Okay. Cool. So we'll land on that then. Saturday 11 Pacific, 12 Mountain Time, and 2 o'clock Eastern. So sweet.
All right. Awesome. Wonderful. So, just in case people need to drop off earlier, perhaps we should go to our issues next, and then in the end, we'll do a learning module where you get familiar with GitHub and perhaps learn something new. Matt, I will make you a host right now.
Okay.
Perfect. You should be able to share the screen right now.
Okay. Oh, it's asking for me to do something on my system preferences. Sorry. It's going to take a second.
No worries.
Later. Oh boy. Yeah, it's going to ask me to quit Zoom somehow. All right. I'll tell you what. Does everybody have the issues list pulled up on your maybe on GitHub on the repo?
Yeah.
I can pull it up and share the screen, perhaps. Just a second.
Yeah, if you can, I'll just pull up issue number 1 and talk through it.
Just a second. All right. Okay. Perfect. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Oh, wonderful. Are you seeing issue 1, just to confirm?
Number 1, yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep. Awesome. So I'm going to read through it and we can just make sure that it makes sense to everybody. So it says the most important feature of the app is the ability to look at what's on the list so a user knows what they need to buy. List component is the best place in our code to do that. So when you look through the code base, you're looking for the component that's called list. In fact, when you look through it, the code kind of shows like a to-do where it's code commented like, hey, this is where you're going to put it. But you should refer to the acceptance criteria to kind of make sure that you're putting in exactly what the acceptance criteria calls for and not too much or not too little. So the list component is rendered on the path /list, but right now, this is actually issue number 2. Right now, the links at the very bottom of the app don't work. So they don't take you to those routes. So you'll have to type it manually into your browser once you've got like that test server up. So talking over the acceptance criteria, if you look in app.jsx, there's already a function called stream list items that's in place, and it's putting, it has data that it's pulling from the Firestore database, so it should be already available to the list component. I honestly don't remember if it's being passed into the list component, but it should be there in the same, part of that component, app.jsx. And then also you're going to use the list item component to actually render it. So instead of like just hard coding, paragraph tag and something in the middle, you're going to use that list item component. So be on the lookout for that. There's kind of a note here at the bottom, like there's a link to the wireframe, and if you don't mind just opening that in another tab, Vola. Thank you. You can kind of see here that there's lists, there's a list of items and their names, but you've also got buttons like details and delete and stuff like that. I don't know that you probably don't need to implement that here. You just need the name. So I would say like stick to the criteria on that. But it is good to know kind of how it's going to be laid out in the future. Just good to be cognizant of it. So switch back to the issue for a sec. And then, yeah, just think through like what steps do you need to take as far as being able to render it? It's an array of objects, so how are you going to get that to render? Just kind of take a note that way. So off the top of the head, does anybody have any questions about it that kind of jump out?
I had a question. It sounds like I haven't looked too closely, but there's already a skeleton of the whole app has been created. So we're kind of filling in the gaps to eventually get the complete project. Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten the sense that there's a pretty good number of places where there's a code comment with like, to do an uppercase, and I believe this is one of those places.
Mm-hmm. Just a general question. Is every cohort doing the same thing? Like, does everyone make the same shopping list and it comes out different because of the way people lay it out? Or is it different every cohort? Just curious.
Yeah, I think I get the impression the project is the same. I know that both or all teams in this cohort are doing the same project.
Okay. Yeah, it's always the same project. I was a collabie a year ago, and we also built the smart shopping list. Cool. So you have freedom though to make it your own, and I would highly encourage you as a team to like think about how you can do that. For example, we use Tailwind to like kind of style our app. Definitely don't have to do that, but it was just something that we decided. So the core of it is the same, but it'll have its own unique features for sure. So
yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and switch to number 2. So the description is shorter, but I'm not sure if this is a shorter task or not. So users need to be able to navigate between the pages of our app in order to access all the features. So I mentioned it before, but there's a footer that has like 3 or 4 links maybe, and they all just, go to #. They don't actually there's no routing. And so you're going to implement that. So you need to use the nav element that's already in the layout component. You need to make the links to home, list, and add item actually route. So they're already going to be inside the nav element. You're probably going to change those, anchor tags over to nav link components from React Router DOM. There was a link to the official docs for Navlink component. I checked it like last night or the night before, and it didn't resolve for whatever reason for me. So I put at least an alternate link in the comment to try alternatively. So you should be able to kind of look through this. I wouldn't get too wrapped up in some of these code samples because they go into some pretty crazy detail. I would just focus on like, all right, to get to this route, what does the nav link need to, be coded as? So that's what I would suggest. And I think, yeah, I said that, but instead of going from an anchor, you're going to probably use a nav link component here. Any questions about this one? Nope. Good. Awesome. Again, just to reiterate, like when you look through the acceptance criteria, just it's good to be thinking more about like what you're going to do with the app eventually, but within the span of actually putting code up for review and that sort of thing, just stick to the criteria. I think I saw a note as far as who the pairings were going to be, so I started to work on like a pair bot thing. I saw it in the Mentor playbook, so I'll let y'all know if I get that up and running, unless one of y'all had already worked on it, Vola or DJ.
Can you guys see the pairings that I'm sharing?
I can.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does any pair has a preference on which issue to take?
I'm open. I'm open either way.
I feel like Sarah spoke, but I didn't hear it.
I just said, yeah, me too. I'm open to either one.
Okay. Well, I think, Randall, you had asked about issue number 1 at the beginning, but I don't remember if it was a very specific question or if it was pretty general. I think
what was issue 1 again? What was I forgot what the first thing was.
That's listing the items.
The list.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want us to just pick one, I'll do that. If no one has any preference, we can do that one.
Okay.
So is it just these 3 between the 2 pairs?
It's these 2, just 2 this week.
What am I missing?
Oh, as far as the acceptance criteria go, yeah, that's all you need to do as a group. But yeah, these 2 stories, that's all that we're focusing on for this for week 1. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So it looks like Randall and Alex will take story 1,
Okay.
and then Ashel and Sarah will take 2.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. And we will be posting pairings in Slack as well, so you can guys communicate and work on the issues. And are there any questions about the issues or about the structure or about anything else?
Oh, kind of general. I'm new to Slack. I just got the email saying that, like, get your paid subscription, but we don't need a paid version to keep using this, do we? Because it's
No.
already paid for by the Collab Lab, right? All right, cool.
Alex, did you have a question?
Yeah. So I guess my one I had was all the issues that are currently listed, are those like the total amount of issues we'll have for this app? Okay. And then is it common for groups to like finish these early, like, and then, or is it like usually like, okay, this is the designated issue for this week, and then, okay, noted. Cool, cool.
I guess
Oh, sorry,
depend.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I guess it will depend on your team, but usually, remember, this project is supposed to be around 5 hours a week.
5 hours,
So
yeah.
usually it's a good amount of time to finish one issue, write a good pull request, get it approved, reviewed, and then go over the demo.
True. And I had like, that's a good point. Thank you. And one last question for the issues done with partners. Pair programming, like, I guess my question is the pairs that are working on these issues, while working on it for those like 4 or 5 hours, that's like all done through like video chat or something for pair programming.
Yeah. So you can
Cool.
use Zoom, Google Meets. There's actually a Slack huddle feature that actually works quite well. You can share your screen. I think you can even do video in that as well. So it's kind of up to you all to figure out how you want to meet.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think there's also, I don't know if it might have a learning curve to it if you've never done it before. I've only done it once, but I think it's called like Live Share is if you use Visual Studio Code, I think that's an extension that you can get. And so it
That's
lets
a
you
good
kind of put
extension.
both people like on the same editor. You can kind of see each other's code, in action or whatever. And so, yeah, personally, like if you don't prefer to have it up on a video screen or whatever, but have any of y'all ever done pair programming before? Yes.
Not in a
Okay.
structured way, more like
I'm getting a
seeing
mix
somebody
here.
talk.
So what did you say? I didn't
Not
hear
in a
it.
structured way, like the
Okay.
school promoted it, but then when we got there, they're like, do whatever you want. We're like, shoot.
Yeah.
So no one felt compelled to like have to do it in a certain way. Maybe we work together all the time, but
Yeah.
I don't really know what pair programming is officially supposed to look like.
I guess the thing that I would point out, I've only done it like maybe 3 or 4 times and in different contexts, but one thing that I've been told, and it seemed to work well, at least in my experience, is that if you sort of divvy it up so that one of you is actually on the keyboard and just doing what is being sort of told as the best thing to do in the best place to do it, you're the one writing the code. But the second person is sort of looking out for where the pitfalls might be, maybe doing research, maybe making suggestions about like the right place to start, or maybe edge cases like, for example, if you're looking through the list ordering thing, you might want to look at, well, what happens if there's 0 items? Like, just kind of looking out for that sort of edge case. But yeah, at least in my experience, that's the sort of arrangement that works pretty well. And you can pair off or you can switch off, that sort of thing. That makes sense. Awesome.
And there's also going to be a learning module on pair programming that will go into more details, cover up some tools. So just hang on there this week. We'll discuss how it went, what worked well, what didn't, and we'll share some tools that usually works.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our learning modules. So today we're going to be talking about Git. So give me just a second. Let me share my screen. Okay, wonderful. Can you guys see it? Just to confirm?
Yep.
All right, fantastic. So most of you most likely already worked with Git, either on GitHub or another system. So what is Git? So Git is a distributed version control system, and GitHub is a service that makes Git available. There are some others such as GitLab, Gitbucket, and others like that. So just a little overview. Okay, so what will we cover today? We will cover creating and switching branches, how to stage the changes, how to save the changes, how to send your changes to the GitHub, also how to get the latest changes into your local repo, and how to push your changes into the main. So to go over a few Git terms, so you have a repository or your repo, which is a collection of files under source control. You have a remote repo, so it's a origin repo that exists somewhere online, like on your GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket or what have you. For this project, we'll be using a GitHub. What is branch? So branch is a copy of the repo. So the main branch is a source of truth, and other branches are usually for the features or for anything that you work on. Different branches, essentially, once they're done and tested, they are merged into the main branch, and that's how the main branch gets updated. So what is commit? Commit is a set of changes to your repo, and head refers to the last commit. We also have pull requests. They are documentation that shows and describes what changes were made, what was the reason behind it, and anything at all related to your current branch or to the changes that you push into the main. So there is a certain flow that you will get accustomed to. So for example, you have a history of initial commit and then some other commits, for example, at the button. And then you and your partner want to start working on a different feature. So you branch out, you create a new branch, you work on your feature, and then you add some tests. After the work on your branch has been worked on and tested, you open a pull request, and you merge it. Once everything is approved and done, you'll merge it into the main branch. So the main branch gets updated. So let's go over a few commands. All right, so first thing that you're going to be working with once you start with your partner, you will create a branch. So for issue 1, you will create a branch following the naming convention that is specified in the docs. And you could do it with git checkout. So it would be git checkout and the name of your branch. And then for your partner, so one person will create the branch, right? And another person will use this branch. So you're working on the same thing. All right. So once you worked on an issue and you met the acceptance criteria and everything else, you want to stage your changes. So you want to add your changes. And there are multiple ways to do it. So you can add a single file, for example, git add and then the name of your file, or you can stage all the files that you worked on using git add a. All right, so once you added your changes, you want to commit them, and you really want to be thoughtful about your comments. Some companies make you follow a certain standard, but essentially you want your descriptions and your comments to be descriptive enough so the other people who will be looking in your branch later on know why the reason why the change happened, or what was the main purpose of this branch, you know, if it was a bug you were fixing or if it was a new feature. So being descriptive will save you a lot of time and also will help your colleagues working together on the branch. So there are multiple ways to add comments. You can use git commit m, and then you can write inline message. And there's also a way to commit stage and track files all together, and you can do it with git commit am, and then your comment as well. And don't worry, I know it's kind of, we're flying through it really fast, but don't worry, we'll be sharing the slides with you after the presentation. And in case you get stuck, we're always here for you to help and to guide you through. All right, so once you staged and commit your changes, you actually want to move them from your local repo to the GitHub, right? And this is usually done with git push. And what it does is essentially sends all the commits upstream. And the reason behind it is you want everyone to have the same version of the repo, and you want it to stay up to date. Fantastic. So when you start working on a project, it's really good practice to have the most recent version of the main. So it's always good to pull before you start working on your new feature or you create a new branch. And it helps you to stay up to date, and it helps to stay consistent. After you and your partner completed your feature and you tested it and you think that it's ready for review, you can open a pull request. What pull request is essentially a short series of notes and documentation that will highlight what your feature was for or what your branch was for, what was done, what changed, any notes for other people on your team, any possible bugs if there are any issues, any inconsistencies. So this is your communication tool with the rest of your team. So once you open a pull request, once you open the pull request, you write your comments and you assign the reviewers. So the standard protocol is first you will assign the second pair to review your code. And after it's done, after they put their comments, you will assign them mentors so they can also get a chance to review your changes, approve them. And once everything has been approved, we are ready to merge. And with most of the merges come merge conflicts. And at first it could be stressful and scary, but that's okay. Merge conflicts are beautiful. It's because when you have multiple people working on the same repo, it is inevitable that you will be touching parts of the same files, and there are multiple ways to resolve merge conflicts. There are VS Code extensions that you can use, or you can use or you can review the code directly on a GitHub as well. So don't be afraid of merge conflicts. That's normal, that's expected, and if you have any issues or any questions throughout the project, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help you and resolve them with you. So I will be sharing the presentation with a few sources. The Git documentation is pretty good. Atlassian Git tutorials are good. But in general, for the most common issues, you can just use Google or Stack Overflow. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's a safe space for you to learn. And yeah, we'll be here to help you and support you through entire process. Are there any questions or anything you would like to, anything else you'd like to know? I'm sorry, I know I kind of flew through it really fast, but don't worry, we're here for you, and we'll figure it out if you have any questions.
I have one. I mentioned in the chat. I've done GitHub and I've done my own stuff, but I know Git is used for like teams and all that, right? So, any kind of major, I mean, it's all new for me, but any kind of major differences between when you're just kind of pushing your own stuff versus, so I guess I never had to do a pull request for myself, right? So
Yeah, I think actually, like I had a lot of the same kind of stance, like maybe 6 months ago or something, because I was like trying to work on my own project on GitHub, and I was trying to pair with somebody on it, and I pushed straight to main, and they were like, "Wait, why'd you do that?" And I said, like, "Well, it's mine. Like, why shouldn't I?" And they said, "Yeah, it's a good habit to try and have like a feature branch that you're iterating on, you're kind of doing whatever you need to. And then at some point in the future, you may merge it into main later, or you might not, like you might throw it out. And because it's on a feature branch, you don't have to necessarily be concerned about reversions or anything like that. You just do what you need to, and make the changes to bring it back into main when it's appropriate to. So at least from what I've seen, it's just kind of good. I don't know what you call it, hygiene, logistics, good practice, whatever you want to call it, to try and sort of work on a feature branch. And so that command that Vola showed earlier, like git checkout dash B and then the name of the branch, especially when you pull from main, that's like one of the first ones you want to go ahead and call, just to get yourself on a branch at the point that you want to be at and work through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'll definitely be watching some tutorials today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can ask you guys if I get stuck.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest difference, Randall, is like you'll never, in a job situation, you'll never push to main directly. Like you will always have a feature branch
That
that's
makes sense.
tested, QA'd
Yeah.
everything before it goes to main. But honestly, in this setting, like to reiterate what Vola said, like don't worry if you like mess something up. There's always a way to like revert changes and go back to like the previous commit and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, but a super useful one for sure, because you're going to be using this all the time.
Yeah, but the general protocol is you start working on, before you create your own branch for the feature that you and your partner are working on. You work on it, you push all the changes, you open pull requests so the other team gets a chance to review it, and then mentors review it. And once it's reviewed and approved, then you merge it to main.
Yeah. I guess another thing, I don't remember if they talked about it in the orientation yesterday, but especially if you're doing like, did any of y'all do any kind of open source work? And it isn't necessarily important if you do or don't, but it's definitely a good habit to go ahead and start like a draft pull request. Once you've got the branch created and you've started to kind of work with it a little bit, and it doesn't matter if it's intermediate or not. In fact, it's better if it is, to go ahead and start that draft pull request and go ahead and say like, here's where I'm going with it. Here's the changes that I want to make. Like sometimes at work where I'm at, it's actually almost the opposite of GitHub, where instead of just stacking commits, all our commits are all one commit, and you just stack on top. You just change it again and again and again, and you might update the commit message, but it's always only one commit. And so anyway, I guess the point is that when you're kind of in route to the solution, it's good to have like a draft up and running, and that way it's easier for you to collaborate and ask about it because people can see exactly where you're at with it, and you don't have to guesswork or explain it or anything like that. That makes sense. Yep. I was looking through the chat.
Yeah, thanks.
Randall, I know a little bit about like Git branches and stuff. I can also help you when we pair this week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in good hands, I take it. By the way, guys, it's just really great to have this. After being in a boot camp, they closed their doors a month early. And like a lot of us were like, wait, we have another month of learning, another stack we wanted to learn. So we all felt kind of lost. And I'm like, so I was trying to teach myself, which is great, but this was missing. So just really happy to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. And I saw a couple of the chat messages too. If y'all are interested in trying to contribute to open source stuff, it's been a bit since I worked on it, only because like as soon as I got the job that I got, I like fell off the face of the earth. And so I was like, oh, I should actually get back into this. And anyway, that I can try and help if that makes any sense. I know of 2 or 3 projects that are certainly receptive to it and are used to sort of taking people in and getting them up and running. The only other thing I can't remember if it was Alex or Ashel that mentioned this, like, is it common for people to work ahead a little bit? I don't know the answer to that, only because I haven't been involved, so I don't know what's common. I know it's not encouraged, but one thing that I would suggest that you try, just personally, if you've never done any kind of blogging, if a lot of this is new to you, you're in a unique position to write blogs, because you are coming at it from an angle that you are truly new to it, and so you've got a perspective that a lot of people don't have, and you're one step ahead of the people that would be likely to read your blog, if that makes any sense, which is a great place to be as a blogger. So and also that is a bit of a cheat code for getting jobs, because the fact that you're in a group like this means that you're gaining experience in collaboration. But if you write a blog about the things that you're learning, then you're proving that you can learn on the fly, that you can take all of it in, and that you can apply it, and that you can actually write to it and form cogent thoughts around it to the point that you can write about it. That's a really excellent use of time. And it stays with you. Like, a lot of people say that they use their blogs for their own personal reference later in their career. And I think that's true. So if you find yourself with, like, you're kind of chomping at the bit, that's something that you could probably spend some time with.
To add to Matt's point, there's also this hashtag called 100 days of code, like that people do on Twitter or on LinkedIn. And I've been doing that since the start, like since last year. And I've gotten some pretty good like responses on that on LinkedIn. So it's nice to like document your progress through that, because people find you through that hashtag because they do it too, or they can relate to it, or maybe they can learn something from you. So I'm still doing that on LinkedIn. So I'll probably be updating the rest of that hashtag with our progress in our program. So I can't wait for that. So yeah, I think that's one thing that you guys could do if you're interested.
Yeah, and I also want to say that if you think of something else, please use the Slack, share it with others, because most likely if you found it useful, someone else on your team will also find it useful. So please, please, please be loud on Slack, use it, share, ask questions, and it's your space, and just use it as you see fit.
I have one last quick question, if that's okay. I know that I'm not sure if this is included in this program, but I know documentation is a thing in the software engineering sphere. Is that something that if I wanted to do, like, I can get like help with? Or I just wasn't sure if that's something that, I don't know how extensive that can be though, but just throwing it out there.
So I guess let me make sure I get the question right. When you say, is it something that is accepted, you mean like if you wanted to try and go into kind of a sphere of influence that you are helping to add to documentation for people's projects or for your own projects? Is that what you mean?
More so like when you're documenting your code processes in a workspace.
Yep.
I guess in that sense. Is that kind of the same thing as like just generally like keeping track of what you're doing for like personal blogs? Okay, I wasn't sure.
No, I mean
it's
something that is often I guess I'll put it this way, like, you've probably heard the term technical debt, but that is definitely a form of technical debt. And especially in the case of documenting the processes and the different aspects of being on the software engineering team that you're on, it's also seen as something that is important for actually productivity for developers on the team. Like, the longer that you spend trying to get spun up on tooling and making sure your environment's right and that you understand how the code bases are organized, the less time that you get to work on features or fix bugs.
That's true.
So I mean, it's definitely an important thing to do. So especially when you're, on iterations where like you're not really focused on features, then one of the things that you'll probably get asked to do is to work on documentation, especially if you're new to the team, because again, you've got a perspective that nobody else has. That you're probably going to go through that list with a fine-tooth comb, or at least you could, and improve it to the point. Like I know that when I started back in March at the job that I'm in, I kind of had like carte blanche for the first month or month and a half, and they were like, everything that you see that doesn't really add up and onboarding, just go ahead and point it out, make an issue for yourself and work at it, because it's going to be a while before we get to hire somebody else, so go for it. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I guess only other thing is if you ever find an open source project that you're interested in, same thing applies. They're going to want documentation, and they're almost never going to have it. So it always helps. And it can make the difference in popularity for those too. If the docs aren't good, a lot of times people don't care about it.
All right, I guess. If there is nothing else, thank you so very much for being here today. Start working on your issues. Pin us if you need any help or anything at all. And we'll talk to you next Saturday at 11 o'clock.
Cool. Nice to meet y'all. And Alex, hit me up on Slack about coordinate time. I'm gonna go play softball, but I'll be free the whole rest of the day. So we'll figure
Sounds
something out.
good. We'll coordinate.
Okay.
All
Nice
right.
to meet y'all.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
You too, folks.
Yeah. Bye.